local election headquarters. Well, it was a big night for Democrats here in California and across the country. From a resounding win for Prop 50 in 2 governor's races in Virginia and New Jersey to New York City electing a Democratic socialist as their next mayor.
We have a lot to get to this morning, and here to break it all down is our political analyst. Let's send it now to the desk, Jacob and Vincent, for that discussion. Good morning, guys.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks, guys. On the right, we're joined here by Kathy Abernathy, president of the Western Pacific Research. And on the left, we have Kern County Democrat Party Chair Christian Romo. Thank you both so much for joining us to have this really important political discussion post-election day. So, Christian, let's start with you. This has been a big moment for the Democratic Party after losing a little bit of footing after 2024, big loss. They've been kind of running a little bit aimlessly without a clear message. But last night was a big win, a large net for Democrats. We saw Abigail Spanberger distance herself with kind of some more moderate left policies, but on the other hand, we take a look at the New York mayor's race with Zoran Mandani, and that has been a very interesting look at a little bit farther left of a candidate now running one of the biggest cities here in the country. But what does last night tell you about the direction that the Democratic Party is heading?
I think they're activated, they're motivated, and they're really happy to finally get a win. Like you mentioned, we were walking around a little aimlessly there for a bit, but now I think it's the momentum of they just want to fight back. And I know Trump is saying he wasn't on the ballot. He really was. This was a referendum on his administration, on how he's doing in the first year of his term. And honestly, it's surprising that in a special election, this is an odd year election, that so many people came out to voice their concerns with the way this country is going, and it's a great feeling to have the energy back in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Kathy, Trump and his Republican allies have been focused on immigration, crime, and conservative cultural issues, but the AP poll shows voters who decided last night's elections are more concerned about the economy and jobs and cost of living. First, are you concerned about the results, and what do you think needs to change for the party to rebound in time for the midterms?
Well, what would we change? What President Trump and the Republican House and Senate have done is bring inflation down, push that we get young, healthy men aged 20 to 50 off the welfare rolls and start working instead of taxpayers paying for them to sit home. So actually, what we have been doing as Republicans is the correct thing. If the voters care about inflation and jobs, that's exactly what we're doing. We also made sure that the border wasn't open and millions coming across with their drugs, with their crime. And yet the Democrats seem to like that. They want to open the border back up. They like shutting down the government. They shut down the government and kept it down because they were shooting for this state. You'll see how fast it opens up now. They wanted some suffering. They wanted the air traffic slowed down. They wanted stories about our poor military and people not getting their benefits, all because they wouldn't come to a simple vote they've done before. So I think if that's the track of the Democrats in states other than this state where they suspended our Constitution, that's what Newsom did, that's what the Democrat legislators did. Suspend our Constitution, pad the seats by those Republicans they want to beat, that they didn't beat last November, they broke up their seats all over the state. So we will see what happens next with the elections, but I think they're going to regret this in the long run, because I think Republicans, we're pretty angry about this, and we're going to go and continue to fight for an inflation-free society where people work and have a safe life and aren't exposed to millions coming across the border like Joe Biden and the Democrat Party did. It's got to stop.
Yeah. Well, on that notion of California, let's shift gears a little bit to Proposition 50. It was a major win for Governor Gavin Newsom last night, who spent many months campaigning, advertisements, promoting this measure. And, this comes after, Gavin Newsom has announced that, he's considering a run for president. Christian, is Newsom the right guy to lead the party? And, was last night that, jumpstart to a potential Newsom campaign in 2028?
We're still really early in a presidential campaign. I mean, again, this is President Trump's first year in office, for his second term. Gavin Newsom, if he is running for president, it really looks like he is. He's off to a great start. I mean, not just in California, but really across the country. He's catapulted his name on the national level, saying California Democrats will fight back. We're going to take on this administration. People are upset the way that this country's going. They're losing their food benefits. Millions military families are on the verge of losing their benefits, and education's on the line, healthcare's on the line. There's so much at risk and being torn apart by this administration. Gavin Newsom has really taken that and ran with it and saying, we're going to take this on as Californians because, we're not afraid of a fight. And they poked the bear last night, and we saw the result of that.
Kathy, I want to turn it over back to you. Governor Gavin Newsom last night urged blue state leaders to follow his path in redrawing their state maps. And all this comes as the Supreme Court considers arguments on the Voting Rights Act, which could have major implications on electoral districts favorable to minority communities. Some voters are concerned that this gerrymander war is starting to feel like a runaway train. Who do you think is to blame for that? And how do you think it ends?
Well, 17 states don't rely on the politicians to draw their plans. They're done by a commission, including this one, until the Democrats suspended the legislature, suspended the Constitution. What needs to happen is some respect for the rule of law, because everything that my Democrat colleague here just mentioned were things that Democrats did. They kept the government shut down. They knew exactly what the game they were playing, and that's bad for America. We need to have our air traffic controllers. We need to have the people that needs benefits from the government getting them. But to shut things down for the gimmick of saying the world's horrible right now, America's got big problems, vote against the Republicans, that's abusing, to me, the legislative process in our Constitution. And so I hope it stops. But let's remember, Texas, these other states, they have the right for the legislature to draw it every other day. That's not what our California Constitution says. So that's what they suspended, not just for this election. 5 years they are making it be that there will only be 4 Republican congressmen in the whole state of California out of 52 seats. And I think the public will figure out that that's a real game. But they can't win any other way but doing something like that.
Yeah, and to just get a quick, reaction to both of you, one of the biggest seats here, at least in the county, that'll be affected is David Vallejo's seat as we head into 2026. What's your guys' reaction to how this race might start looking with this potential redistricting?
Well, and it's not necessarily David Vallejo's seat. This is Kern, Kings, now a bit of Fresno, Tulare. This is Central California, and yeah, they play games with our districts, and I think the voters every 2 years have returned Vallejo to office, a Republican. They like what he does, they like what the Republicans do, or they wouldn't vote for him. So they're trying to change the seat a little bit more every time. We'll see how it goes. It's hard to predict. I think Vallejo will win, but it's more important that the voters get represented. And right now, the way they're playing with these districts, you can live, at 250 miles away is the rest of your congressional district that you're in. That's not healthy for the system. Compact is the right way.
Yeah. Christian, we got 30 seconds more. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, Kathy makes a good point that, for the longest, this has been a Democratic seat held by a Republican, so people keep re-electing David Vallejo. But I think now going into the midterms, we're going to have 2 Democrats that are already running. We have, a doctor and an educator, and we have to see who could really push that message of unity of the Democratic Party to the voters all across the district. But this is, again, already a Democratic stronghold, should be, and a Republican keeps getting elected. But it's really taking that message of the Democratic Party that we're fighting for working class families, that we're fighting to bring down the cost of living here in California and in Kern County. And we've got to see which candidate's going to do that. And they're going to have a really big race ahead of them. It's going to be one of the most expensive races in the nation. And I think all eyes are going to be on Kern County to see who's going to take this.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Christian Romo and Kathy Abernathy, thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, we have more news coming up after the break.